great. That's great. Oh, we've got a couple of more folks coming on down. Excellent. Great. Come on out. Hooded. Yes, sir. There we go. And Adrian is still up in there. Come on. You're gonna get it. Okay.
Adrian,
so
come on
welcome to
down.
Hubs.
Coming. I'm just like
Welcome to
Supposed to
Hubs.
be coming down.
So you can see, I can tell which of you are on PCs. You don't have hands.
Am I going this way?
Everybody who's made it down doesn't seem to have hands. Everybody who has hands, hypothetically, you got them up. It means that you're working with controllers here, which is nice. That's great to have them there. It allows you to gesticulate a little bit more, but otherwise, you have the ability to do everything here. So the space that we're in here was all created with Hubs. I actually might turn to Justine here to also supplement a little bit as well. Justine's been working on this a lot with us over the course of the last month to build out this exhibition. For those who might have attended PXR in October of this last year, we had built out a world within AltSpace VR, which all of that event is another social VR space in there. And because we are invested deeply in more accessible technologies and emphasis on the more, not necessarily entirely accessible technologies, because there's still an equipment outlay and different parameters around the actual use of all those technologies. We wanted to, as quickly as possible, move what we could into a WebXR format, which is to say that it would work in somebody's browser without anything additional to install, or they could use any headset that would be able to pick up on those WebXR protocols. So that right now I'm on headset, it's giving me an immersive experience similar to what you're experiencing within the browser without having to install a specific app, which other social VR platforms do require. The downside to that, if you're thinking about starting to create work within Hubs or social VR space, the trade-offs to that are, as with anything that you're working with in a that's web-based, because of the need to have consistent and valid code and protocols across all different types of platforms. It's a little bit limited insofar as the different things that you can do. But Mozilla's got a great platform called Spoke for building worlds. So you can get started either with using one of their templates. Each of the different projects that we're showcasing here has been installed into a different one of those templates that's been customized. And you can use their platform Spoke to bring in whatever media platform objects that are compatible that you want. Now, when you're using Spoke, depending on the computer that you're working with, depending on the browser that you end up looking at it in, depending on the headset, some things don't render as well. So right now, if you're on your browser, you're actually going to see a little bit more definition on the objects than I am, because essentially the Oculus Quest is a phone strapped to your face. One of the things that has allowed VR to proliferate so much over the course of the last few years is that the core technologies that allow it to work are positional sensing, high resolution, small displays, and data connectivity. All stuff that your mobile phone does. And so a lot of the technology that we find, in fact, the Oculus platform is built off of Android as well. That gives you a little bit of introduction here. Here right now, you're able to look around here. We've got multiple levels here. We've taken each of the 16 projects that we've worked with. I'm not trying to stay close to you here because the audio is also sort of localized. So the nice thing about a social VR space is that when you're close together, you hear who's near you. If you move farther apart, if I back up here, you'll start hearing me less. But that allows somebody to have an individualized experience or come together to have conversations. I really like it because it's one of the few places where I've actually run into somebody during these pandemic times. Like otherwise everything's scheduled. So we've got multiple levels here. We've taken 16 of the projects that we worked on a number of other ones, but with ones that had outputs that we could document and have created additional rooms that everybody can go to. So based off of what people had sort of articulated, I want to show you around this space a little bit. I'll give you a little bit of tour of this space, and then I want to go into a couple of these additional rooms. You can decide to follow me or not. They all have the ability to link back to where we are right now. If you do go away and then decide to come back, you'll end up in the same place that we started right now and be able to enter. But I thought that we'd give a little bit of a walk around to show you what type of projects that we're working on. All right. So right here in our first floor, we've got a little bit more of the conferencing that we've done and a VR project that we not necessarily corely a Toaster Lab project, but we were helping to support the documentation of. Last summer, we had held a hackathon, which is all conducted by Zoom. So we have the output from those projects. If you point your cursor, if you take a look over here to my left, most of your right, and you see the T-Morph graphic here, if you point your cursor at it using your mouse, so you've got a little blue dot, or you've got your headset and you point at it, you'll see that there will be a link that comes up that says visit room. We're not going to go there yet. All of these will have that. It will bring you into a room where you'll be able to see the documentation there. Over here, we've got a little bit of sample of the work that we did with the PXR conference to look at how those words were built. And if you keep turning over here in the corner to the left as you entered, we've got Bury the Random Project, where the creative technology lead and initiators of the project was Beth Keats, who's on our advisory board. Who we're very grateful to everybody on there for the amount of work that they've done to help make this project a success. And her project, Bury the Wren, where they've got an explainer in there. Before we go into all of these, I want to actually show you around the space a little bit. So if you come down here, there's another ramp here. So I'll bring you down here, make sure that you can navigate around. So come on down. Here you go. Here comes everybody. Not do too much until we've got everybody coming down. Great. So the projects that we have on this level showcases some of the other technologies that we have. I know that there's interest from those who signed up for the workshop today to take a look at what some of the 360 video that we've been working with was. The Stranger has a couple of those. We will go into that space a little bit later. We've also, with the pivot that everybody's needed to do around digital work into to go online. We have a couple of streaming projects throughout the space, including behind most of you. I'm looking straight at it right now as our Indigenous Futurities project, which was a streaming project using a lot of stuff that people have become much more accustomed to. But we were experimenting a lot with distance performance with performers across 3 countries and 2 continents doing a synchronous performance that was streamed. Uh, when we were able to get into spaces, we'd done a project with Theater Pass Marai around using augmented reality and in an accessible way to bring ASL and deaf interpretation into performance spaces in a partnership with Cohort, another DSF recipient. And we contributed the interface design to Tarragon Theater's production of Orestes, which is more streaming theater if that's of interest. I'm going to go ahead and head up this ramp right here, this green ramp right here. Follow me. Welcome back up. We see everybody coming. Everybody seems to be getting the hang of the controls. That's great. Great. You know, I feel like oftentimes the hardest part about getting involved in VR space, especially with the number of tools that have come to peripherate, is just getting into it and experience what it's like. And if you, I know that a lot of you are on desktop right now, so it feels a little bit like playing a video game. Hopefully, you'll be able to translate this experience into a headset in the not too distant future as well. Of the projects that are up here,
This is
uh,
what Mozilla
of the
Hubs
projects
looks
that's
like.
up
These
here,
are
we've
all
got
the
another collaboration
doors.
with DLT
I can move around. I can
for the
like
one live in-person performance that
there are
we've been
keys.
involved
I
with
can look around.
that's not been a
View
workshop since the pandemic
my
began, which
key.
was the right
Oh,
way, which was
wait,
at
again,
the Venice
again,
Biennale, the only
again. Sorry.
in-person festival I know to have happened in full with live audience over the course of the last year. We did a VR component for that project. To its right, we have Groundworks, which is a project that we've been collaborating on for a number of years with Indigenous collaborators in Northern California, including where we acknowledged earlier around a lot around Ohlone land, but also around restoring Pomo, Wapo, and Miwok lands as well. Uh, uh, right before the pandemic happened, on the other side of the room, we were doing a lot of work with motion capture, which as itself is contributed into the proliferation of VR. And its ability to bring performances. Later on today, I know I'm coming back to Folda to see Collider, which is using the VR motion capabilities of VR headsets to have performers collaborate in real time in alt space. As another social VR platform, but before that happened, we were also doing work. We did a project called Oh What a Lovely War, that was at Heart House, in which we generated a character entirely through motion capture, some documentation in there, and a little bit more streaming theater, which we brought it into an educational setting. Since we're all the way up here, where I want to take us next is actually down below. So if you are on your keyboard, I'm going to ask you to toggle G. Just hit G, and it should. If you do, you'll see a little notification in the lower left-hand part of your screen. It will say fly mode has been activated. If you are on a headset and you have hands, it should be. If it's not turned on for you, if you're on the Oculus, you just push the right joystick, and it will toggle it on. And you can see if you look in a direction and then head forward, you'll start to fly. Can anybody join me up here? A few people up here. People are taking off.
And what do I push again?
All right, let's not get too far.
G? Press G.
Yeah.
Okay,
Going up.
Come on up. All right.
And what next?
Working?
I've got fly
Okay.
mode enabled. Do I just hold it down?
So once you
Yeah.
have fly mode enabled, you look in a direction and hit forward. So you might have to, Adrian, if you're looking forward, right now you're just going to keep going forward. So you'd have to use your mouse if you're on desktop to look up. So click and drag so that you're
Yeah.
facing in a
Yes?
different
Okay.
direction. And then if you
Ooh,
hit
there we
forward,
go.
then there you'll go. All right. So I know that I asked you all to come up here with me, but what I'm going to ask you to do next is actually we're going to go down to the lowest level. You also take the green ramp, but here we go. Ooh.
Lord.
See who can make it down here. There we go. People are starting to make their way down here. Everybody. The weird thing about fly is that you can then pass through all of the objects too. You almost made it, Adrian.
I know I'm almost there. I'm coming.
You're coming. You can do it.
Okay, here I come. Oh gosh, I went through this.
It is terrifying and amazing. If you've made it down to
Right
this
here.
platform and you don't want to fly around anymore because it makes the controls that much more complicated, you can toggle fly mode off and you'll just anchor back to the closest surface.
Oh my gosh.
So, and you'll just like rectify yourself here. So when I got into this area, I'm not here. All right. So, now let's take a look at one of the projects. Down here, you'll see a number of our projects that deal with geolocation. One of the core things that Toaster Lab likes to do is do things that are site specific, and oftentimes that means using locative work. And the projects that are here all grouped together with a platform called the Map Tool, which Andrew Simpri, who is the other third of Toaster Lab, is a core developer on, also developed with an initiative that he and his partner, Andita Simpri, work on called Place Lab around locating work. And these have been a number of projects in which we've worked, some in community, some professionally, to create or to get media, especially immersive media, that is ties into very specific places through GPS coordinates. This is something that if you are interested in doing, Justine mentioned while we were starting the Zoom meeting that you probably should make sure that you can go to the place.
Can you hear me?
Oh, how do you get down here? All right. Justine G. Or Justine. Do I have a Justine that can help Chloe get down here? The other option to get down here is the green ramp. actually, that comes from the space that we were just in. So you can also walk. There you go. Come on down. So you don't have to fly to get down here. I just use that as a demonstration by putting us up high and bringing us down low to get down here. So hopefully more people are making it. All right. So as we have most people here, I'm going to jump away with some of you. The way that we've set up this exhibition is that each of the projects goes into their own room with their own content. Sometimes there's a sub room in there. It depends on the amount of content that's in there. The first place that I'm going to take us to is actually public squared, which oftentimes is hard to type. So it's typed as public 2 most of the time, which is over here behind Chris. Chris, you might need as the orange panda there, you might need to turn around, and you can see this from here. So if you point your cursor at it, you should get a blue button, and so there's a pink button that will get lighter. Yep. And if you click on that, it will say visit room, and we're going to go there. We're going to see if people are making it. They all make it on top of each other. Yep. Few. Got a few. All right. We'll see how many people come over here. I'll just talk a little bit about the rooms that we're in. So every room is different. This one is meant to be like a little camp that you could get into. Every room that we've created has a link back to the main room to get to the main hub. Got that it's right behind you where you spawned. You'll see a picture of a bird's eye view, or the view that actually many of us just had on that top level of the main hub, and you can go back there as needed. We're not going to go there yet. What we've loaded in here is some images from the project and an explanation of it. You'll see that there's actually another room right behind you. Visit room to see the 360 content. And if we've got most people, if you can come around to the back of the central screen here, this other visit room, this is where I'm going to go next. Before we go there, I'm going to talk a little bit about this project to give you an overview. What we did with Public Squared was that we were working with choreographer Jane Gotch, who's based between Kansas City, Missouri, and Toronto. She does lots of site-specific work, and we had done a couple of experiments in Toronto, in a sort of guerrilla style. The TTC had kicked us out of the subway a couple of times. But we were able to get a little bit of support to go down to Kansas City and to do 3 different VR dance pieces along the streetcar line. What we did at Toaster Lab was we also created a web app that allowed anybody by going to visit that would locate where you were along the streetcar line and put you in proximity to the different VR experiences that were there. uh, People may or may not know that the Kansas City was where Google Fiber was first deployed. So there is a really high-speed early fiber infrastructure there, especially downtown, now supported by Sprint, which is as a telecom provider down there, has a strong footprint in Kansas City. So we knew that there would be high-speed data that would be available in the downtown core, especially along the streetcar line. That's part of how they asked people to use it. And so we had 3 locations, popular locations: the River Market neighborhood, which has lots of shops and restaurants; Union Station, the central train hub, and transit central transit center for the city, and then also the central library. And working with 2 dancers over a period of time, Jane choreographed different site-specific dance pieces that worked over the in and out of the trains as they worked their way down, so someone fall down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this next room. You look at this visit room where it says click on visit room to see the 360 videos for this project. I'm going to ask you to join me back over in that next place as well. And I'll see you there in a second. Same process as how we got here.
Oh, cool.
So welcome. I'm not going to talk too much here. If you follow these arrows, luckily with these convenient arrows here, you can head into the video spheres that we've set up. We can actually watch each of the dance videos in full 360. If you go into any one of these spaces, right now they look like they're at a distance. Some point when you get to the viewing platform at the end of the platform there, it will have a full 360 view all the way around you. And as you take a look around, you can turn your head and see the various things that we were working on and playing with here. One of the neat things about this is because they were geolocated specific to the place where the camera is positioned, that when we were recording the dance work, the presumption was that you were in the place where it was where it had happened when you were watching the recording, and were able to do that in an immersive way. And that because we recorded it over multiple sort of takes, we were able to have a lot of things that the dancers did, such as appearing in the same in different places at the same time. And there were also then public performances that were later in the summer in August, so that someone could see the dancers live performing in the spaces and also watch the VR performances concurrently. The idea that they were all sort of complicating, turning two dancers into 6 to a dozen dancers, depending on the moment in the show. If you look, you can sort of see uh, they're sort of brightly colored as they move through there. So yeah, I'm gonna personally head into the streetcar one, and I'll stop talking for a moment. Actually, I point out here that if you look towards the doorway of the skyscraper that runs to you, this is one of those moments where you'll see that through compositing, we've put one of the dancers, Trina,
Yeah,
she
it totally is. And
crosses over herself multiple times.
if I could move
The
to
car
kind of
and
reveal
head
it,
towards the
you can
end
see
there.
if
And at
anybody's
some point,
moving with the dancers to the film.
people are running both backwards and forwards at the same time.
Interact with them in some way, try to mimic it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
I don't know.
Ian Garrett? Are you also Ian Garrett?
Oh, and Michael.
I know, but you look like Ian in here.
Cool.
I spawned like Ian.
I'm gonna head back into the central hub area here. You can join me in a moment.
Well, you can change your avatar, right?
Hello.
In the bottom right.
Where's
Oh, are you
everybody?
in your headset? We're all here.
People have gone into the various videos.
The
We've got a
desktop,
couple
'cause I'm
people looking at the Union Station one
monitoring
over
a
here
whole
to your
bunch of
right,
things
and then
including
some
Instagram
folks follow me
stories,
into the streetcar one are still
as you
watching the
were.
streetcar
We're
one,
going.
in which people are
Okay,
walking
we
forwards and
decided to get the
backwards.
kids new beds. Like
So I'm just giving it a
yesterday.
moment for people to be able
Yeah.
to
So we found two beds for
see
people,
the
which is nice.
see what the
And they're
contact
really
experience
they're
is
really
like
happy.
bringing it
That's
into Hub.
really important. Yeah, but it's gonna be a big week.
Yeah, we have a big week ahead of us. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
My kids are going to be gone for the weekend.
Yeah.
Good for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. But anyways, just a big weekend.
All right.
Yeah, I have to work
Let's
out
start.
the schedule with Nathan and so that he knows what's happening.
This is
He
the
knows.
week.
This is it.
This is the big week.
Ian,
Yeah.
was there
Oh, they just
I'm okay. And speaking of which, I have to let Zoe go in 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to look
Okay,
around.
I'm gonna go check out some things.
Okay.
All right.
See you around.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to start bringing people back into the main space In all of the areas that have been set up, if here we've gone to two different places, right? We've gone to initially the project room where there's some of the documentation, the flat documentation. It's a little bit more intensive to put the 360 content in, so those have been built into their own subroom, so we're sort of like too deep into it. In each of those, though, there is the ability to return back to the main hub, which is where we're going to go next, and return to the project room, where you can also, Jane does a presentation about the project there, and there's some high resolution photos there too. So what I'm going to do next, if you want to join me back into the main room, you take a look at the image there where you see that overview again. I'm going to hit visit room, and hopefully I'll see you all there in just a moment. I'm going to come on out of the box just so we're not on top of each other. There you go. Got about 12 people here. Great. So the purpose of this space is really to allow people to explore, sort of at their own speed, going through projects. I want to take you to one more space where we're going to be looking again at a locative process, but just because I want to share some of the 360 content and site-specific content there that I think works really well. So we're going to go back up to that the upper platform. You can get there through two different directions. You can go back to the box in which we started, or you can head down to the platform, the next one down from here, and up the green ramp. You're going to be sort of going cut a corner here above the reeds that you'll see on the other side of the floating Canada Council toaster. Follow me.
Pull him.
I made it.
Pull up into that ramp. God, that's
Hello, everybody. Oh, no, let's look over the edge. It's just team help. Great. So I just want to give you because I want to give you some time. You can stick around here. We're going to do another sort of introductory tour to the space at 2:30. But given there's 16 different projects, there's no way to go through all of it without boring everybody and being on a headset forever. So I wanted to show you one more project because I kind of like the world that it's in separately to talk about it, answer a few questions, and then give you the chance to explore the projects um, at your own leisure. There is no time frame in which to leave. The link that you use to get here will work. You can bookmark it if you want. Come back and explore in your own time at the various projects. We're going to be keeping it open as a different way of experiencing the content. One of the challenges that we've found within working within mixed reality work is that when we are trying to share it with somebody, especially if someone doesn't have specialized equipment, it's actually really hard to do. YouTube and Vimeo will host 360 video. You can send somebody objects, but the experience of it is not quite the same. So one of the things that we really like and why we brought this into Hub and to a social VR platform was so that people could experience mixed reality content in a mixed reality environment. We tried to have a little bit of fun with it, make it really playful. And to sort of show you a different space in which we have something and some of the exploratory ways in which we put it together, I want to actually bring you into the Groundworks project, which you'll see here in the corner. I'm the one that I'm facing right now. So the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and hopefully I'll see you all over there. It'll be the next one that we go to before we come back into this space, and you'll be able to explore. All right. As people enter in, you can see that you have the ability to head back to the main space there. There's one at the top too, so don't worry. We're going to go up this tower. You'll find as we go up there, and I'm going to sort of go step by step up there just through the pieces slowly so people can follow or go at your own speed. But don't worry, you're not going to have to find your way back down. You can also fly here if you'd like. But you'll find images related to it. And then there's a number of videos from the project, flat videos that are embedded into the space. And when you get to the top, you'll see a link to go to another room with with a couple of the 360 videos from this project. So I'm going to start headed up there. If you want to follow me, I'll point out some of the highlights. The Groundworks project here, you see an image from when culminated in a site-specific performance on Alcatraz. This is from that, right after the October 2008 sunrise ceremony on what had just been designated in San Francisco as Indigenous Peoples Day officially, as a provincial holiday, not a provincial, municipal holiday. It had previously been designated Columbus Day. And there had been for nearly 50 years since the occupation of Alcatraz a sunrise ceremony on that space. One of the reasons that one of the ways in which the Park Service maintains it and why it's been protected from development. Leading up to that project and leading up these stairs, for other aspects of this project, we were working with a number of, we were working in partnership with a company called Dancing Earth, which has a number of Indigenous collaborators and core members. And amongst them were a number of contributing artists that would be part of the devising of pieces that they would later tour. And one of the intents of the Groundworks project was to invert to create a reciprocal relationship with these artists and saying like, what if we put the resources that we have of people doing and support you in creating because you've supported the company for so long. There's a couple of stills here for Toaster Lab came in because the artistic director of Dancing Earth, Rulan Tegan, who's also involved in environmental work, is somebody that we had a relationship with before through the environmental work. Because we have if you've lost the audio, one thing that you can do here is you can always reload. And we'll reload you into the room. It might regain you the audio as well. There you go. Justine mentioned that as well. So we came and said we've been doing this locative immersive work. Is that interesting based off of this ecological connection that we have? And she said, actually, we've been talking about with our collaborators of using technology to quote unquote restory the land. Restory. I can do air quotes with my controller. And so what we ended up doing was doing a series of residencies with key collaborators of the company in places that were significant to them, whether or not they were significant community-wise or just places of interest to the individual artists, and started doing work. And then also did a lot of work with them, with their mentors, and working in conversation with those that sort of guided them through their own practice. So the images that you see here, this video camera is from a day-long workshop we did with singer Desiree Harp and her mother Tech Tech around traditional traditional foods and traditional gatherings and craft and artisanal work that happens within was now the Sonoma area. We also, with Desiree, went to the top of Kanimota, or Mount St. Helena, right outside of in Sonoma County, is the highest peak there, which is a sacred mountain for the Wapo and many others around there, which is also now used as a broadcast tower. And so you'll see up above we have a 360 video in which people are at the peak of that with Desiree as a guide, but also bringing people up to Point Arena, which is near Pomo Land, which incidentally is also adjacent to Manchester, which is where the cable that connects the United States with Japan and Hawaii for the internet lands on the continental right there on the most western edge of the continent. And some of the work around an overview of the shot of Alcatraz there as well. Then continue to head up, and you'll actually see how we've included from our first symposium. Uh, which you can watch at your leisure. So we've got paused right now, but a 10-minute introduction to the project by Tashina Parker, who's been the project's community liaison and line producer, effectively. We're getting a documentary now. If you head up, you can see some of the media that we've created for it as well. This was not 360, but was a short film that was created. Has been in a couple of festivals. That was created with Kenyon Sayer Roods, who's Aloning herself, typically a welcomer to the lands there, telling a story in San Francisco and lands there. If we head up another level, you'll see a summary of the performance that was on Alcatraz following the sunrise ceremony. Keep going up here. See some of the artists there. And actually, the voice that you hear in that audio right now, as that runs, if you go up to the next level, is Greg Castro, who is here, up here in Indian Canyon with Canyon, that you saw before, and Ross Pity, as another one of those interviews. This is actually, this 6-minute video is a shorter version of a 4-minute, of a 4-hour long conversation and walk that we all had together. If we keep going up, artist Al Frank, who's been recreating Tongvan canoes and reclaiming Tongan language. There's a short video here about a song that she wrote in relationship to a canoe. You can see actually, which was one of the first Tongvan canoes built in centuries. In displacement, California has the benefit of being colonized twice, first by the Spanish, and then later on by what is now the U.S. And then finally, come up here. We have a secondary room that come. I'm going to go in here, and you can see some of the three, or I'll leave you to explore this at your leisure. And I'm going to head back to the main room to answer questions, invite you to explore this and other projects more. There are 360 videos coming out of the project, out of this project in this room, similar to the ones that we just saw from Kansas City. These are spaced throughout the Northern California region that have been created on top of in seaweed gathering spots, in acorn gathering spots, in urban centers, etc. There's just a few of them from the project in here, which are going to be included within a geolocated app that's going to be coming out ultimately in a couple of years. Right now, one of the things that's been an impact of COVID has been that we had intended to work with the dancers to do volumetric performance capture that would be used for augmented reality within that app. But because nobody's been allowed to travel, we've sort of been waiting now for the entire pandemic before we can find a time to do that when Toaster Lab is able to get back to California and coordinate that project as well. So I'm going to invite you to head in there if you want to see a little bit more 360 video. With the time that we have left before we start our next session, I'm going to head into the main room so that if we've lost anybody in the way, I see we have a couple fewer people than before. People might have explored and go into that central space. And myself and the other Toaster Lab folk will be there to answer sort of any questions, whether about the space or about any of the projects that are there. But I also invite you to explore each of the rooms. You get to them in the same way, different ways of exploring. Remember that you can always fly around yourself more easily to places, but perhaps I'll see you over there. Here I go.
you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, how's it going?
All right.
This is great. Well done.
And it's been a fun thing to put together because physics don't matter.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really, I like at PXR how you had it set up in a world as well, but like it's just a nice way to be immersed in everything. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
When we started thinking about like how we were actually going to present this material and do it, we were like, oh, we could do like a slide. I accidentally teleported myself to just behind you. We were thinking about how what would be an interesting way to do it, um, and just like a presentation just seemed boring. So it seemed like, well, we can get everybody in the hubs probably, and then send people there. It's one of the tricky parts about like actually seeing the work and you see it in a way that it's like related to the technology that created it. It's hopefully a little bit more interesting.
totally.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, for like a world like this,
Mhm.
roughly, like how long did it take to develop and to like import all of the media and objects and stuff?
Yeah, so the base world itself didn't take very long because it's actually relatively straightforward. It's mainly platforms and ramps putting it together. So there's a little bit of, and then some funny objects brought into to Spoke to sort of serve as follies to break it up. Um, the tricky part about getting the content in, it's actually really fast. A lot of the like video is hosted elsewhere, so you're not like importing it directly. You're not trying to run it here. It is like streaming into things, so it's either on YouTube or Vimeo for video. So a lot of the images are in here. The tricky part was around getting things to like work correctly because your permissions have to be right on and sometimes the formats have to be right. So it says that like with all the three, actually, I think we had to a couple times re-render the 360 video, and then re-upload, and that was really the part that took time. Once it was done there, because it was hosted someplace else, we could just update the sphere for things. And then it's like checking anything. You sort of have to see it run. There's which space is it? It's if you go to the Groundworks 360 work, um, we had to at one point they were really close together. They were really close together, and then we had to move the spheres apart because when we went in to experience it with the video running with the audio, they would bleed over from each other, and it got a little hard. So it's like those small things, but actually getting the stuff into the world is relatively straightforward, especially if you're willing to work with like the limitations that you run into with any sort of WebXR. Like PXR, because it runs on its own as its own application, can do a little bit more than what we can do in this, which is effectively running in your browser.
Cool.
Yeah. I have to give her a lot of Reddit credit to I don't know, Justine, who's sulking off there. Hey, Justine K.
Hi.
Hi. How long do you think that getting everything into the world sort of
Oh, I don't know.
took?
A few weeks.
A few weeks of regular work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you've also been because you're also stage managing Collider,
Yes.
so you've been
Collider.
spending a lot of time in VR over the last month.
Yeah, I've been spending a lot of time in like PC mode VR to be honest. So I've
Yeah.
mastered like the like zooming around like and flying and going through walls and with Folda.
That's actually one of the things that we found both through in our experience with working on PXR, and I think on this, that when you're building the world or managing it, it's a lot easier to do it on PC in the browser, so you can have other things happening at the same time. So, it's like performance in that way, where you effectively to be able to function backstage most of the time, you're doing it on desktop and not on a headset. But then it's important to get into headset. Like I think Justine and I, while we were confirming a lot of content over the last couple of days, it was we were mainly on PC, and then be like, okay, we got to put a headset on. We can actually see what it looks like, and you actually get the 3D effect. And out of interest, unless they were specifically coming to do it. So in that case, and when possible, we'll build things as web apps because they also are just like easier to put together. You don't have to worry about particularities about iOS or Android, etc.
Yeah.
So in that piece, the main thing that's happening around the geolocation is that we've created a map. You've given it permission for your location, and it's sort of tracking you along the space and indicating where they are. A couple of the other projects down there, like From Weeds We Grow, have a more customized map. Actually, the image that you saw there is like the iconography that we use to indicate like specific experiences that you can have within there. Um, so that it's really orienting you to be in the same space in which something happened, so that
Mm.
there's some sort of importance between that location. When we're doing it as a bespoke app, like an actual application that you're downloading, that GPS is oftentimes used as part of a gateway, a gating system, so that what we'll do is uh, so for a project that we had, it's not represented here as one of our first projects as a collective, called Transmission. Uh, that had 29 different site-specific scenes, which throughout when we did it in Edinburgh, and the what happened with that is that the you could only actually you had to unlock a scene by going to the location where it was. So
Mm.
that would give you the ability, that would do a similar thing and help you navigate through space, like actual physical space, and based off of your proximity would allow you to access different pieces of content. Later on, we've also included things like weather and time of day variables, different things the phone is able to sense as a device, and all of those things become ways in which sort of become the gates that you have to sort of clear to be able to access the content, whatever it is. And then with the hope that we're trying to get someone to be in the same location or in an important location to where the work is for a couple of different reasons. One is that you're sort of collapsing those two places at one time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that part of that is just low resolution. The headset I'm on is basically a phone, working on a phone.
Hmm.
You can only process so much. So one of the reasons that we like doing that is because if someone has an actual experience of a place, we've been finding that you can have a lower resolution substitution for it, because the someone's memory sort of backfills that information. There was a project that was in Prague in 2019, which took place in like a hockey arena. They had created a really rudimentary 3D model of it that you started the experience in. But when you started the experience, it was actually in that hockey arena, and it was drained of that, so it wasn't operated as a hockey arena. But because of that, a lot of people felt that it was actually extremely photorealistic in the VR experience because they had gone from the actual place into the other place, and so their brain had already shortcut to what
Right.
it looked like. And
Interesting.
so a lot of what we're trying to do with the mobile work is trying to do that same sort of thing. If we can bring you to a place and you have an experience and sense memory of that place, the fact that if it's 360 video or if it's generated sort of VR content, that you will, both of those have lower resolution than real life in different
Yeah.
ways. And we're sort of
And
trying to fill those things in.
and so in all those cases, the main objective is to get the person, like to direct the person to the right location for the experience. Sometimes, that, like you said, gatekeeping. And what's your kind of spatial resolution? Like how close do they need to come to that one spot? Like what's the
It
the
depends on
sizing?
the technology. With GPS, we try not to get any lower than 30 feet from one trigger to another. We've done a couple of audio projects in which they're sort of sequential, and so you're walking between them as sound walks. And so then it matters like what is the spacing between individual ones that actually allow it to work. A lot of that happens because if you've got clear line of sight, you're outside in an open space. When then you can get pretty decent, like down to 10 feet. But that's an ideal scenario. So there are some places where we've done work where it's just through all of the testing and trying to make it work. You can't.
Encourage the repression of black African, colored, and Asian South Africans for the benefit of the nation's minority white population. For instance, places of residence were determined by racial classification.
Together. There's also a few capabilities that have been used by our partner companies but aren't quite ready for public release yet. Adelheid dance projects use push notifications and text cues to guide audiences around a huge indoor-outdoor site in their work Lot X, to create an augmented reality public installation, and to offer closed captioning for deaf and hard-of-hearing audience members. And I used Cohort in my work, Jackeries, to cue augmented reality scenes that overlay projection-style graphics and video onto a live performer. Cohort is open source and free for anyone to use. In addition to production uses in theaters and in site-specific works, it's really helpful for quickly testing out ideas and making prototypes. If you're interested in learning more, you can check out cohort.rocks or email us at cohortrocks@gmail.com. Thanks to our partner companies,
Yeah, but there's two of her. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, there's two hers, not me.
It's like a frozen her. Yeah. I'm gonna go up and see
Justine and
what's up.
Justine.
There's
Oh,
two
yeah.
Justines.
Yes.
How
Why
how
not?
do you manage to make yourself again, or are you just here twice?
Who's my
And then
PC me? It's VR me.
Thank you.
no
Just
hands.
gonna say thank you.
All right, I'm gonna pop out for and take a little get a little water before we start the next round.
You do
Thanks,
that.
everyone.
All right.
So thanks everyone for having me and us at Nikai Theater. I'm Jacob Zimmer. I'm the artistic director at Nikai. We're located on the territory of the Kwanlin Dun and the Tonquachin Council in the Yukon Territory, which has self-governing agreements with 11 of our 14 First Nations in the territory. I came to this one with these desire to think about tech in a low bandwidth place because we live in that reality and there's so much of this world that I get excited by, but also when people say, you know, stream this on your new iPhone, I'm like, okay, we've got to work out some things. But I also came with this an idea for a game that would be called Future Histories, and it's a fable, and it's 3 to 6 players get together with their smartphones, and a world sort of appears before them, shared between their smartphones. These are very rough concept sketches I've made. There would be real animators used. So the 3 to 6 players would come together, and on their phones they would have a bit of a shared reality, but also a separate reality. So they
All right. Hi, everybody. We've got about 10 people into the room. Welcome. So, as you see here, hello, Andrew. Thank you for joining
Hello.
us. It's nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So, as
Hi.
if you look to either side here, you'll see that you've got your mouse and keyboard controls over on your left hand side. And you've got your Oculus touch controllers or just your hand controllers over on the right hand side. Um, it is built a little bit easier to do it with your right hand than it is to do with your intuitively. That's what I'm trying to say. With the controllers, but we'll just make sure that you can move back and forth. So the next thing that we're going to do, I'm going to invite you out of the box. We're going to go down to this purple platform down this ramp here. So if you can turn and follow me this way, we'll come down here. Well, it's good. This is the first test to see you can make it down here. Got one person stuck behind. All right. Right. Up, figuring out the controls. Here comes Common Bouchard. 12304. All right. So this is Hub Space. You've done the first thing that you need to do, which is figure out how to move yourself around. You've been assigned an avatar. We have set up this space with the skybox behind as a few different levels that you can either walk around to, or we'll show you how to fly in a moment. And I'll give you a little bit of orientation to what projects are here. As Justine was mentioning, we've done all sorts of different projects, moving from some VR, AR experiences, and a lot of site-specific work, which is sort of the core of what Toaster Lab does, into a lot more streaming performances and things that can be experienced on your screen. A lot of those technologies and some of the work that we were developing earlier all sort of blend together. It became a lot easier to do that pivot because we were already experiencing things like live streaming and motion capture and all of those things, so we could start to explore those in a distant way. Not to say that it hasn't been tricky, but it put us a little bit in a place that would be good to make those explorations. And you can see a lot of that here. Now, this isn't a comprehensive list of all the projects that we've worked on. There's other things that we've either consulted on or worked with people on to be able to consider ways that they included that don't necessarily have the same level of documentation. But we included 16 core projects. She thought gave a good sampling of the different types of technologies that we worked with. Here on this first level, we have a range from our experience in gathering people together and conferencing. If from your direction right now on your right-hand side over here, you'll see the documentation from the PXR conference. There's going to be another one of those coming out in October. But I really like this example because it was the one place over the course of the last year plus that I've run into somebody that otherwise I was planning to meet with people. We've had Zoom meetings and that. But like this, you can sort of, what's nice about a social VR space is that you can sort of randomly bump into people in a way that you couldn't before. The other work that we have here behind you to your right is Teamorph, the hackathon that we hosted last summer, which explored a lot of ideas. You can see presentations from the different explorations that people did there, that we conducted it primarily in Zoom. You'll recognize the grid there from over there. And then Bury the Wren, which was a VR experience with one live audience member and one live performer, in which the audience member interacted with live facsimile objects to interact with virtual objects in space and interact with this performer, which they actually never saw. They would only have them move around that. So a good combination, good indication of what that is. I'm going to continue to guide you down here. We're going to continue to make our way downwards before we come back to fly. So you'll follow me. On this next level, you'll see a couple of the projects in which we expanded this. We do a lot of work. So right now, from the direction that you've come from, if you're seeing Orestes on your right-hand side and The Stranger on your left-hand side, The Stranger was an immersive piece done in Toronto in the fall of 2019, in which we worked with DLT Experience to create a series of VR movies, alternative ones for 2 different tracks that an audience member could follow through this and more across 7 live streams in which we created an interface for. And if you want to see how that came together and what it looks like within one of the performers' rooms for their setup, there's a video in there of that as well. We have also done workshops. We've also done a lot of things that originated as workshops. So we did a project with Theatre Pass Marai here in Toronto over in the fall, in November, in which we were working with our partners over at Cohort, which is working on video and AR distribution systems, where we built out a way of creating an affordable mock-up of putting ASL and deaf interpretation into augmented reality and mixed reality glasses, so you could see that as an individual experience. And we might come back to that one. And then the other one on this level is a project we had called Indigenous Futurities, that premiered on June 12th, arranged through and shown through Startup last year at Fulda, and streamed, in which we had 6 different performers across 6 different cities with additional staff in 2 additional cities. So 8 cities, 3 countries, 2 continents, of people streaming together, mixed together into one sort of screen-based experience that was run live. You can see and watch that in there as well. I'm going to continue to move down this ramp here. If you come towards the smiley face next to the industrial ruins in the distance, we're going to just turn our way, a little bit more complicated pathway down this ramp. Everybody seems to be making it. That's great. Come on down, everybody. All right. So here we are. These are a lot of projects as people are coming down here. Multiple me's. I think I gave a link that may be attached to my avatar and my name. That's entertaining. Hello, it's funny to look at myself in VR. All right, as people come down here, Andrew, who's with us over there, you'll see the fox and the tie with 2 hands. Yeah, there he is waving over there by Public Squared. It does the lead development for a lot of our projects. And when I say that, I mean like maybe I'm okay at breaking things. But Andrew is really the muscle when it comes to the coding of everything. So a lot of the work that we do, and especially pre-pandemic, is geolocated, which means that it uses GPS, the Global Positioning Satellites system, to be able to locate work in specific places. This is based off of a tool that Andrew's created called the Map Tool, which allows us to do content management for pretty much any type of content that we have so far engaged with, and put that into specific places. It's also been extended to the extent in which we've been able to bring in other pieces of data, such as weather information and time of day information, and work on story sequencing to be able to drive various types of apps. Now, it can be used to create apps that use all of that information. One of our preferred ways to work with it is actually within web apps. We'll look at a few of those, or there's an opportunity to look at a few of those here, in which uh, uh, through your mobile browser on your mobile device, that you're able to give it your permissions to use your location, and then we've mapped onto various locations different immersive experiences, and those have ranged from audio experiences, such as Sharon Reshef's Remember Me project, which was an app that was built to work offline in Prague during the Prague Quadrennial, to one of our more recent park-based projects, with the STEPS initiative called From Weeds We Grow, in which a customized map and pin system introduces people to neighborhood storytelling. Our Albion VR project in Parkway Forest similarly use community-generated immersive content like 360 videos that we've shown particularly youth, how to use to tell stories about various places. Now, there's one platform we haven't gone to yet. We'll come back here in a moment, but this gives us an opportunity to fly. And so I wanted to bring us so that if you look over here past the Steps Initiative and From Weeds We Grow up to, you'll see the bottom side of an orange platform by the reeds. We're going to fly up there. Now, if you're on your computer, and I think a lot of people are, I can see by the lag of hands, um, you're going to put the G key, and you'll see in the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see that it will say fly mode on, toggled on and off. It'll turn on and off. If you are on a headset, it may be on already, but if it's not, on your right-hand controller, where the joystick is on it, if you press that down on the Oculus controller, that will also toggle it on. It won't give you any notification. If it's on, you will then be able to, there you go, it is on. You will then be able to look in any direction and push forward, and you'll start to go in that direction. I've just lifted myself a little bit. So I'm going to let everybody try that. There we go. Almost there. So if you are on, everybody's flying around. Great. So if you are on your desktop and you're not flying, you're just finding yourself moving through space, try that G key again, and you will need to turn your head. So if you're on headset, you just go in which you want to look, and if you're on desktop, you click and drag to turn your view so that you can look up and you can look down. If you're not able to get that to work, that's okay. Justine over there in the corner. Oh, there you go. All right. So now that everybody seems to be flying, we're going to fly up to that orange platform. As you fly, it allows you to pass through objects. Okay. And if you weren't able to fly, come on up here through the ramp system. I'm show you a quicker way to get through some of these as well. There's some orientation. Once you're up here, my preference is to prevent myself from flying through things because now you can pass through objects. You can toggle the flying off if you're on your keyboard. Just hit G. I'm going to hit the joystick. Just press down on it, and it will anchor me back to the ground. You'll see yourself. There you go. Love. And you can toggle that on and off if you want. So what I'm going to encourage us to do now is I'm going to take you to a couple of the different spaces that we're in to showcase some of the work that we've been doing now that we're up here. So if you take a look at any of the images here with the captioning behind it, if you point your cursor either with your mouse or trackpad or with your controller, you'll get a blue dot, and you'll see that there, if you hover over any of these images, it'll say visit room. This is how you get into the other pieces, the other things. These are going to load additional rooms. So I'm over here pointing at the right way with DLT experience, and this is the room that I'm going to suggest we go to next. So we're going to work on getting everybody over there to transfer to there. If you see visit room, you can either use your like everybody made into the cafe. It does. Everybody does spawn at the same place. So I sort of like to back up a little bit as our avatars sort of run into each other as we get generated at the same place. So in all of these rooms, when you get into them, usually behind you, you'll see that there's a big picture of a overview of the main hub. You can always head back there. It'll put you back into that same red box that we started in. And I'm going to invite you to come around here to the other side of our cafe. You can see some of our images, and I'll just tell you a little bit about this project. Some of the projects have more information than others. The Right Way was really interesting because it's the kind of the only in-person festival I know to have happened last year. For the brief time in which Italy had reopened, they did run the Venice Biennale of Theater. DLT Experience, with whom we've done a couple of different projects, had a piece, and so the company traveled over there. We were sad that we weren't. We've started to liken our work that we've been doing with Toaster Lab over this last year to being, you think of a spy movie, there's usually like the handler, the person feeding information to whoever the spy is doing the dangerous work out in a van. That's sort of what our life is like in our little office in our home. So we were coordinating with people in Venice while they were doing that. If you come around to the back side of this kiosk here, you'll see there's a link to another room. I'm going to invite everybody to come over here. This is a pretty easy world to explore. In some of the rooms, you'll see a link to another space to see the 360 videos, just because they're a little bit hard to load too many of them. So you made it here, so we're going to make it there. So if you'll join me in that.
Ha a che fare con me, con la
It's funny to see everybody spawn on top of each other. All right, so there's two videos that you can check out in here. You'll see this a lot in spaces where we're not otherwise showing regular running videos that you can see or images. When you're exploring the various worlds that we're working with, you'll see these large video spheres. When you walk into any of them, the videos will run to give you an experience of what they're supposed to be like. So right now they look like spheres. I'm going to walk towards this one over here, where you see one 360 video where Andrew is. Hello, Andrew. And these are set up, we're in sort of an individual sequence right now. The two pieces that you see within here are 360 videos that were set up. One of the ones, the one that we're in right now on this side, was one that we recorded ahead of time, which we thought would be used within the experience. And I wanted to include it just so you a sample of some of the 360 video work that we did. This was actually done with a 180 VR camera, in which we were able to get access to a building that was about to be deconstructed with things, and be able to put people into these spaces together to create a video that would run during the experience. So when you went to see The Right Way, you were brought into a space that was empty. You were invited to put on a sanitized VR helmet, watch a short film introducing them. By the time things came back together, you were asked to take it off. The scene had been built around you with the performers, all of whom you see here. So if you head back along that platform the other way, you'll see that we'll enter back into the space this way. And if you come over here, it's actually hard to see because this is actually black on one side. And then if you turn around, you'll see Daniele Bartolini.
Puoi toglierti il casco. Grazie.
And the intro video that we ended up working with in this space
Mi presento, sono Daniele Bartolini,
that's running
ed è
there.
tutta colpa mia.
So this
Vi faccio
gives
il
you
regista,
a little bit
lo
of an
scrittore,
introduction to the way
probabilmente
in
l'artista.
which you would experience this
Tutto
work.
quello che
So with
vedrai ha a
this,
che fare con me, con la mia
we
esperienza di
moved
artista
from
emigrato in Canada e con il processo
the
di
short
cambiamento
film that we
culturale
created and
del
recorded in
dominio che ne è
Toronto,
conseguito.
and ended up
Il Canada è un
creating
paese
just
che si propone come capofila nello sviluppo della civiltà
single point of
tollerante per
view
eccellenza,
experience
della
with
lotta
the
al
director.
patriarcato, di
So in
un'etica
this
legata al
room, you came
concetto del
into this
consent,
room,
del
sat
safe
down,
working
it was
environment
empty.
e in generale
We're
del
invited to put
safe
on this VR
space,
headset, and when you
luogo
took
dove
it
tutti
off,
sono accolti,
the scene had been
sicuri,
set
al riparo
and a
da
group of
amici.
performers now
Non
working in
solo,
there.
c'è la
So this
politica del
becomes one of those
genere e
examples
della
of
lotta alle classi
mixing,
privilegiate in nome delle pari
using those mixed
opportunità,
reality
la
technologies with live
ridistribuzione del
performance as
potere,
well.
l'attenzione verso l'appropriazione
I'm
culturale
going
e il
to invite us to
multiculturalismo.
come back,
Al
unless,
punto che
and
Prime
this is
Minister
in Italian
Justin
because the
Trudeau
audience
ha
was
definito il
ultimately
Canada
primarily
come il
Italian.
primo paese
We're going to go back
transnazionale
into
della
that
storia
central space
che
in
si propone
between the
come
two
esperimento.
spheres. Everybody is joining. Great. And in many of the project spaces, as you go to them, you're going to see the ability to return to the room that we came from. This room doesn't mainly has the photo for it because we're focused on the videos, but you'll see that a number of the other places to explore have a little bit more content in them. And you can go back to the main room. So I'm going to head back to the main room now. All right, we've all made it back here, so I'm going to invite us to go back to the middle platform here. I want to show you another one of the spaces that we've created because they're all slightly different from one another. Go ahead and come on back down here. I'm going to invite us to go check out the project that we did with Cohort, the ASL and AR, that will be just to your right as you come down the ramp. See the group of phones there? And I'm going to go ahead and as we get everybody down here, invite you to come join me in that room next. Hello, everyone. Everybody's making such great, getting through everything really well. That's awesome. So, yeah, you've got your return here. 1111 both is and was by Samson Brown, who are performing it as a solo work, directed by Sula Kalame, and was recently done as a streaming production at Theater Pass Marai back in February. But in November, we got together with the idea that it might be in person to look through Pass Marai's work in accessibility to look at if there was a way of bringing in ASL and deaf interpretation into a personalized augmented reality experience. So there's a little information about the show here, and you can see the core team here, but I'm going to head up this ramp if you follow the arrows. You come up here. I'm going to pause the video that's up here for just a moment. The video that you see here is an introduction to Cohort, which has created their own code framework for distributing video across a number of devices within a space, and we've been using it for to work with AR. So there's a little bit of an introduction of that there, and so we did this as a collaboration because they were already sort of building things. One of the primary leaders of Jacob Niedzwiecki is also on our advisory board with Toaster Lab. So it was a great experience for us to work together to look at ways that we could try and bridge over the different types of work that we were doing through common ways. They have a lot of great mixed reality projects as well. As you move around on the platform here, as you're flying, you can move through the platforms. But luckily, if you're not flying, you're not going to fall over any of the walkways. If you come over here, you can sort of see a little bit of, we've got the promotional video for 1111 here. So I'm just going to pause for a moment. Oop, I'll pause it. Stay paused. Okay, which runs through there. And Courage Bacchus, who is a deaf interpreter, we worked with the whole team, including Courage, to record, to both create captions and then also to record synchronous sign language interpretation, which we then put into a video distribution system so that it could be queued along with the show. Looking beyond just having captioning as surtitles and subtitles, but then also looking at how interpretation, which goes beyond just signing, but also involves connoting some of the intention of the content through the experience. And if you come around to the side here with me, on this side, you'll see a little bit of how we put this together just to take a look at it. Over here, you can up above just slightly see a picture, a selfie that Theater Pass Marai's artistic director, Marjorie Chan, took with our AR headset on. It looks fancier than it is. What we're trying to do, because we're both because we're working with Cohort, but to make it accessible, is to create something that would work as an app that you could deploy onto an audience member's own a mobile device and place into a headset that would hold the phone at your forehead and then reflect back. You can see that running in video This is some of the video that recorded that we shaped so it'll be playing back in the headset on these lenses so you can see through it and see some of the video that we shot there. You can see what the headset looks like if you turn around just to the other in the other direction. So you just saw it up above us, a photograph of Marjorie wearing the headset. It's because we also had masks on. It's a little cyber dystopian in some ways. But this allows someone, this in sort of as a prototype, allowed someone to look through the content and have it follow them as opposed to needing to take their eyes off of the stage. We're hoping that and looking for different ways in which this project might be extended again. So this gives you a sense of what some of the other spaces are like too. So there's two purposes here. One's to tell you a little bit about the project. Another one to give you a little bit of orientation to the space here. Every one of our projects has a slightly different space that you can explore. I'm going to go ahead and head back down and gather by the portal to the main space again. If you fly, and you're flying and you're over there, I can tell that you are, you also just head. There we go. Let me come on back down here. And I'm going to head back to the main space in a moment. As we do that, we've got 16 different projects. We could talk to you at length about all of them. They're all trying to work with different technologies. We sort of consider ourselves to be technology agnostic. The three of us are artists first, and so a lot of our approaches to what technologies are being used has more to do with the problems that we're trying to solve or the experience that we're trying to create. There's a wide variety of trying to do things that especially work at low cost or no cost to the creators. So I'm going to invite you to explore the additional worlds around there to take a look at different types of content and experiences that have been created over the course of the atelier. There is a wide variety, lots of 360 VR, AR content, audio content as well. And I'm going to hang out there. So if there are also any questions or you're looking for something specific, I can also direct you to a project that might be applicable to some of the things that you're thinking about. So hopefully you join me over there. You're also welcome to stick around here and spend some more time with the content here. But I encourage you to take a look at it. The link that you received earlier that we did to distribute everything is also is not going anywhere. This exhibition is meant to be up and explorable for the known future as we work through documentation over the course of the summer towards the conclusion of the Atelier project. So I'm gonna head over there. I'll see you there. Hey everybody. So then I'd invite you to explore, or if there are specific things that you're looking for, also happy to answer questions. I know that Justine's floating here. This is one of the strange parts about being in VR space, is that right now Justine Garrett at least is floating here. I know that she's walked away from her terminal for a moment, that happens. But myself and Andrew are here. Justine will be back in a moment. We might be able to answer any questions that you have about the experience and ourselves, and also Justine here in the pink glasses can also provide guidance for getting around the space as well. Entered with mute, and right now you're trying to be like, I want to ask a question, but I don't know how to unmute. There's usually in VR it should be floating just above your eye line. If you look up, you have to point at it and hit the unmute in case your microphone is crossed off there.
You hear me if I talk right now?
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds like Tyler.
It is Tyler. What does my name say?
It says Ian Garrett. A lot of people have been named Ian Garrett coming in. I think maybe I gave a link that was tied to my presence.
Okay.
I was also staring at my custom avatar too. That looks kind of like me in a few instances.
Do I look like you to me? Or do I look
No,
like
you
to
look.
you?
You are a green robot.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought I was.
Yes. How's it going?
Awesome.
You've got our other headset.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've been really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I've played I think every free demo that's immediately available. And I've been looking at hubs an awful lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
You've been. I've not gone over to the flotilla as much.
Aren't you?
No,
I've
because
only
we've been
gone to the
building
flotilla
here.
a couple times. Yeah. But I'm excited to do the workshop today.
Yeah. Because I'm going to see it on the one on the 8th. I'm going immediately from this to we have our presentation.
Good morning, I am Sharon Reshef, and I am thrilled to be speaking to you all today about my sound project, Remember Me. Remember Me is an interactive app-based sonic experience that guides participants on an auditory journey through a landscape. The app archives binaural recordings and photographs of myself listening at multiple locations throughout the landscape. Participants can journey to these locations, orient themselves according to the photographs, and listen with their own headphones to the correlating recording. Remember Me is an auditory voyage through time and space, transporting its participants to the past through a sonic portal. Remember Me was part of the 2019 Prague Quadrennial, an international festival of scenography and design. Being part of the site-specific exhibition that was held at the Prague Exhibition Grounds, Remember Me archived the sonic environment of these grounds prior to the festival in an immersive and interactive app. The rich sonic history embedded in the grounds is unearthed when participants listen to the recordings and recognize that this soundscape has a story to tell. The Remember Me app was developed in correlation with Toaster Lab. Toaster Lab was incredible to work with. They listened to my ideas for the app and brought it to life on an accessible platform where I was able to contribute content and further explore the design of the app. Toaster Lab was able to support my project by making the app run without data or Wi-Fi.
That much more low poly.
Exactly.
And eventually all these drawings vanish.
It's very funny to see like 6 U's, like which is the real Ian.
Yes, especially I created a custom avatar. It looks kind of like me.
Yes, that looks sort of like you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And with the idea, because we're also doing another hubs. There's another hubs. VRTO is happening in hubs right now. And so I thought that would be good. Then I'm playing as a robot, but then somehow with the link.
Welcome to Dancing Earth in cyberspace. You are all here to be active participants as you witness this creative work in cyberspace. We invite you to tune into the imagery you are seeing. In this piece, there will be a scene with water. You will see dancers offering a water prayer contained in a vessel. Join us at that moment in an invitation to drink from your own cup with gratitude for water. This performance ritual begins now with an invitation for us all to breathe and for each of us to bring our own intentions and prayers for this witnessing of our first experiment of a cyberspace contemporary performance ritual, which we collectively dedicate our songs and dances for the intentions we are all carrying. Gratitude to each and every one of us for being part of this cyberspace creation.
Directions for
And it goes
keyboard.
whatever it is, and then if you push.
So if you turn the other way,
There you go. Okay.
so you
It
can
changes
use the
to,
arrow
like,
key to move around.
an
Q and E will
object
turn you
in
from side to
here.
side.
And then if you use the
And then you can walk out where there's a whole
right
exhibition you
cursor,
can walk
will
through.
change colors,
And then
and
you can
the
click
nope, that allows me
on
to move.
any of
And if
the
you go up
basically the
or down,
billboards and take
side
you
to side
into
will
the
change
room
colors, and up or down
just to learn
Oh,
more
there
about
we
the
go.
project.
Okay, got it. I was gonna draw you a body,
turns into
We can also teach you how to
or
fly
at least
if you're
arms.
interested in that too.
I'm glad this is going out to the feed.
Oh, good. There you go.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't know.
This is the workshop portion of things. We're
Got it?
workshopping.
Good? Come on in. People are graffitiing the floor.
And the sky.
Ooh, me? Didn't do anything.
Come on down, Allison. Hi, Allison.
I think so.
Hello. Nope. I can't turn because I'm trying to draw on the ground. Did you want a little bit of an orientation?
I've been watching on the live stream, so I only just got in on her.
Of course. Bang says Austria, you shoot my nephew. Then in comes Kaiser Wilhelm to help Austria. Then in comes Russia to help Serbia. And then in comes France because they have hated Germany since 1871. Of course. Bang says Austria, you shoot my nephew. Then in comes Kaiser Wilhelm to help Austria. Then in comes Russia to help Serbia. And then in comes France because they have hated Germany since 1871. Of course. Bang says Austria, you shoot my nephew. Then in comes Kaiser Wilhelm to help Austria. Then in comes Russia to help Serbia. And then in comes France because they have hated Germany since 1871. Of course. Bang says Austria, you shoot my nephew. Then in comes Kaiser Wilhelm to help Austria. Then in comes Russia to help Serbia. And then in
Is there anything in
go
particular you might be interested in?
I don't know what I should look at. Do you have any suggestion where to start?
Let's see. Where's one that I haven't that I enjoy? Here. Let's go. Let's do some live mocap stuff. I think that you'll appreciate it. We're gonna go. Follow me. Oh, here. We're gonna go through the red box. Come with me.
Okay.
She had commissioned 2 plays, specific productions written for an online venue. All the rehearsals are going to happen online. The tech rehearsals, the broadcast itself in late November. We won't be meeting face to face at all.
Distance theater, whether or not it's Zoom theater or just streaming theater, is a really important thing for us to spend a lot of time investigating because it's the way that we're experiencing all of our relationships now anyway.
Is a look at the limits of millennial vengeance. Tabby Lau's play, the Antigone play, is the story of a young woman who's fighting for justice and wants to know how far she needs to go in order to achieve that justice.
I really wanted to create a play that was going to work on Zoom. I wanted to tell a story and explore why this story was going to be told digitally. It embraces a little bit of theater and screen because it's such an exciting opportunity to mix the two, that there's going to be some pre-recorded or pre-made video.
Something that goes beyond it looking like a video conference, that makes it look like it's its own thing and its own sort of theater experience, and that we can play with that and bring that into the storytelling that goes into the piece as well.
The way that we communicate with one another now via webcam changes the way that we have relationships, and that changes the way that we talk about difficult issues.
I think that the impact that we're going to see with this is offering students and other collaborators a hopeful look that the training that they're going through and the education that they're receiving at York is still going to be relevant.
Theater is about connecting, and even if the only way we can do it is through virtual means, that's just another exciting time.
This is an opportunity for them to be part of a sense of community and doing something directly and positively and in an exciting way and artistically to respond to our time.
For money, yes? So of course it's also about the money.
Know what you would have done?
Yes,
your
I
clothes
do.
were scattered?
Yes, I do.
What?
I would have sold everything. I would have sold everything else.
That's what I said to my dad.
You're not like your dad.
Sure.
Deserve, because we're only doing this part-time.
Then
Eric, make it stop. Eric, make it.
I don't know how.
Is this working well for you? I mean, look at the Twitter. No one is on your side. Look, can you please just let Eric go?
I hate hosting that.
None of
Oh, great!
We're climbing up the tree.
Hey, Justine, I just sent you
Oh,
the
great.
photo.
Thank you.
All right, let me just check my email. I'm probably gonna pop out of here in just a minute.
Me too.
A little break too. It's a long time. Thank you so much, Justine. You really did an amazing job. I'm super impressed.
I was as I was going through all the content, I was like so like inspired by all the work that you guys have done. It's so amazing.
Oh, good. Well, that's like a definitely nice feeling or thing to hear. We don't want it to be like a drag for you.
Oh no, it was like so cool. I kept getting distracted by like the videos. I was like,
Oh,
oh, this is
good. Yeah, no,
epic.
it's fun. I could spend. It's just like taking a trip down memory lane, but it is the kind of great, and I think Ian feels that way too. That it's like really nice to see it all together. Because I was like, oh my god, we've done so much in 2 years, even with COVID.
Totally.
So, pretty great. Great. Okay, I'm gonna pop out. Thanks again.